Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Have you ever envisioned circumnavigating the globe, much like Phileas Fogg and Jules Verne's timeless classic, Around the World in 80 Days?
Oh, absolutely. That dream, that captivating idea of exploring the entire planet in this whirlwind adventure. It's really ignited imaginations for generations, hasn't it?
It truly has. From navigating oceans to soaring through the skies, the human spirit's yearning to experience the breadth of the world is, well, it's a timeless quest.
But today, our deep dive isn't just about tracing a physical journey. We're plunging into something far more profound. Paul Estabrooks' book, Around the World in 40 Days.
That's right. And this isn't your typical travelogue. It's a really rich tapestry of, geopolitical observation, deeply personal memoir, and profound spiritual reflection. Our mission is to extract the surprising facts, the invaluable insights, and those incredible aha moments from a lifetime of experiences across continents.
Yeah, we want to offer you a kind of shortcut to understanding how unwavering faith, profound resilience, and, unexpected encounters shape this extraordinary journey.
And deliver relevant takeaways you can apply to your own understanding of the world. So let's unpack this remarkable story.
Let's do it.
Our journey, fittingly, begins in Asia, specifically the Philippines, on a truly momentous Valentine's Day in 1971. Paul Estabrooks, alongside his wife Diane and their two young children, landed in Manila.
Can you imagine the initial cultural shock? Intense traffic, piles of garbage from a collector's strike. It's quite an introduction.
Definitely not the welcome wagon you'd expect.
No. But Paul's supervisor made a crucial, really wise decision early on. He insisted Paul spend his first 6 months learning Tagalog, the national language.
Even though many Filipinos spoke English.
Right, because Tagalog was their heart language. It wasn't just about understanding words. It was about connecting with their deepest emotions, their cultural identity,
Ah, I see. That makes sense.
And that investment proved absolutely vital for building genuine trust and connecting with people on a much deeper level.
And this was all happening against this incredibly dynamic historical backdrop of the Philippines.
A nation forged through so many transitions.
Right, from ancient communities, Spanish colonization, revolution, American rule, Japanese occupation, independence in 46.
And then later, the authoritarian rule of President Marcos.
It's against that backdrop that Paul began to see what he called the mushroom principle in action.
Yes, the Manila Youth Multimedia Project. Its flagship program was Maranatha Radio, and it launched with almost no funds, practically nothing.
Seriously, no funding.
Very little. What's truly remarkable here is how they leveraged ingenuity and, faith.
So what happened? How did this mushroom principle work?
Well, Maranatha had this unique format, mixing top 40 music with contemporary Christian songs, Filipino testimonies, and even telephone follow-up.
Okay, interesting mix.
And within just 2 months, it shot to the #1 spot in its time slot in Manila.
Wow, #1.
Yeah. The mushroom principle really highlights this exponential power of faith-driven initiatives. It's not just about a project succeeding. It's about how maybe divine favor can amplify humble beginnings.
It reminds you that even the smallest steps, taken with conviction, can lead to these huge, transformative movements.
Exactly. But then the country entered a challenging period under martial law. President Marcos imposed it in September 1972.
Right. Proclamation 1081.
That's the one. Yeah. Nearly all broadcast stations were shut down. Yet somehow a love song concert was miraculously approved for Rizal Stadium in 1973.
Incredible. And amidst these larger struggles and breakthroughs, Paul and Diane had their own personal miracle, didn't they? With their adopted daughter, Melinda.
Oh, yes. A 2-year battle with red tape for her passport. Just endless bureaucracy.
I can only imagine.
Then a dire family emergency in Canada popped up. They needed to go urgently. And miraculously, they got a 1-day approval for the passport.
1 day? How?
An FEBC missionary, Han Brown, had some government contacts. It was just providential.
Amazing. And now Melinda herself works in Christian television and podcasting. Talk about full circle.
It really is. It's an incredible testament to how personal journeys intertwine with these larger missions.
Then, in 1979, Paul made a major career pivot.
Right, moving from FEBC to Open Doors Asia. That's the ministry focused on supporting persecuted Christians, providing Bibles.
What prompted that?
He felt a real sense of calling to provide God's word, specifically in China. And he was profoundly inspired by Brother Andrew, the founder of Open Doors, who famously said, "We are prepared to be a doormat." Just that humility.
Wow. That sense of trusting in God's provision, you really see it in the Philippines, and it seems like takeaway.
I think what really stands out is how Paul's early experiences were just so deeply intertwined with the unfolding stories of faith across the continent. You see the power of language in the Philippines, miraculous protection in Indonesia, the unstoppable gospel in Cambodia, quiet resilience in Myanmar. It's a powerful foundation for everything that follows.
Yeah, and that recurring theme you mentioned, how seemingly small acts of faith or really challenging circumstances become these catalysts for significant spiritual movements.
Exactly. It sets the stage perfectly for the next part of his journey.
Okay, so now let's venture into that fascinating and often dangerous world of missions to closed countries and shifting geopolitical landscapes. And where better to start than China?
China, yes. A huge focus. Back in 1975, there was a pivotal event in Manila, the Love China Conference. Hundreds of evangelicals gathered, really concerned about Christian witness in China. It even got attention from Time magazine.
So China was already on the radar in a big way.
Definitely. Then Paul made a trip there himself in 1977 after Mao's death.
What did he find? What did it look like on the ground?
Well, on the surface, it looked like the church might be gone. He saw church buildings being used for other things, like factories or warehouses, broken crosses. It gave the appearance of no active church.
But that wasn't the reality.
Not at all. As he soon discovered, the church was very much alive, just driven underground. Oh, and he picked up a memorable Mao quote during that trip. "A little pig is a small fertilizer factory."
Huh, that's practical.
Very pragmatic. He really captured that resource-focused mindset in China then. But back to the church, finding those hidden believers required some ingenuity.
This is where the New Soil Project comes in, right?
Exactly. This was brilliant. A businessman named Luda Rogers had this composting concentrate. The idea was to demonstrate it to Chinese farmers.
Okay, agricultural aid.
But that was the cover. Paul and his colleagues used these demonstrations as a kind of decoy. While they were showing off the compost, they were discreetly locating house churches and delivering Bibles.
Wow, that's clever. And risky.
Very risky. He even shared a story about finding a house church meeting and just spontaneously yelling, "Amen, hallelujah," out of sheer joy and relief at finding them.
I can imagine the surprise on both sides.
It really speaks to the creativity needed when traditional methods are blocked. And that spirit led to something even bigger. Project Pearl.
1,000,000 Bibles, that sounds audacious.
Is incredibly audacious. Approved by Open Doors in 1980, the goal was to deliver 1 million Chinese Bibles in a single night.
Did it work? What was the impact?
The logistics were complex, involving a custom-built barge and thousands of volunteers. But yes, they delivered a massive number of Bibles. And the impact? Well, Paul tells the story of just one of those pocket-sized Bibles. It fell into the hands of a young Christian who became an itinerant evangelist.
Just from that one Bible?
Just from that one Bible. He eventually ended up pastoring a network of some 400,000 believers. It shows the incredible exponential impact a single resource can have when it gets into the right hands.
But it wasn't always smooth sailing, even for Paul. He got caught, didn't he?
He did, for the first time, actually. Caught smuggling Bibles. He said it was a profound lesson in humility, especially because on that same trip, his wife and kids sailed right through customs with Bibles, completely unnoticed.
Ouch. That's got to sting a little.
A humbling moment, for sure.
Sure.
A reminder that God sometimes uses our vulnerability to teach us deeper trust, maybe.
Yeah. And the stories of the Chinese believers themselves, their faith is just incredible.
Truly moving. Take Esther, a medical doctor. During the Cultural Revolution, she refused to deny Jesus. Her punishment: demotion. She spent 11 years cleaning hospital floors.
11 years.
But Paul says she found joy in it. She maintained the cleanest floors and toilets in all of China. Just unwavering faithfulness in the lowest place.
That's incredible strength.
And then there's Jonah, a house church leader who was on a government blacklist, constantly watched, always in danger. He described himself as feeling dead to himself but alive to God. His main plea was always for Bibles and training for the growing underground church.
The need was immense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Paul was deeply affected by his visit after the Tiananmen Square crackdown in 1989. It was a very emotional time.
I can only imagine.
It was there he learned about the Chinese concept of crisis, how the word itself is composed of two characters, one meaning danger, the other meaning opportunity.
Danger and opportunity. Weiji.
Exactly. It really shifts your perspective on how to approach life's hardest moments, doesn't it? Seeing the potential opportunity within the danger.
It really does. And that legacy of faith, it just endured.
It did. Think of Pastor Alan Yuan. He had spent 21 years in prison for his faith,
21 years.
yet he was still actively baptizing hundreds of new believers and arranging clandestine Bible transfers. Just unstoppable. And even their guide on one trip, Daisy, who wasn't a believer initially.
What happened with her?
She was profoundly impacted by attending a service with Paul at a three-cell patriotic church that's the government-sanctioned Protestant church. Something about the experience just clicked for her, and she made a personal commitment to Jesus right there.
Wow, the Spirit works in surprising ways and places.
Always. Now, shifting gears geographically.
To the vast, complex region of the former Soviet Union, Russia, Ukraine, Siberia.
Right. A huge area with a tumultuous history. Ukraine, for example, has roots going back to Kievan Rus's adopting Christianity in 988, then centuries later becoming a Soviet republic within the USSR.
When did Paul first go there?
His initial trip was to Moscow in 1988, still the Soviet era.
There were profound stories of survival, weren't there?
Oh, absolutely. Deeply profound. He shares the testimony of Alexander Ogorodnikov. This man endured an unbelievable 659 days of torture and force feeding during a hunger strike in the Gulag.
659 days. How did he survive?
He said it was prayer and also clandestinely listening to FEBC radio broadcasts coming all the way from Manila. Can you imagine that lifeline, that connection to the outside world and to faith, reaching into the depths of the Gulag?
That's incredible. The power of faith and radio waves.
Truly. And Paul also experienced the intensity of surveillance firsthand in Kiev, Ukraine. KGB agents were openly following him and his colleague, just walking behind them everywhere.
That must have been unnerving.
Extremely. He even describes getting squashed into an elevator with them. But his Ukrainian host, Anatoly Kaluzny, had this courageous response. He just said, no, we live with this all the time. Let's not let them destroy our friendship.
Wow. Choose connection over fear.
Right there, in the moment, a powerful lesson.
Then, of course, came the huge changes. The fall of the Berlin Wall in '89, the dissolution of the USSR in '91.
A monumental shift. Christian prisoners were released. New ministry opportunities started opening up all across the region. It felt like decades of prayer were being answered.
And this opened doors for new ventures.
It did. Like a bold pilot project in 1993 to test a new Bible delivery system to China, operating from Siberia.
From Siberia to China.
That was the idea. Paul went to Magadan in Siberia. He quotes a local saying, "Winter is 12 months long. The rest is summer."
Sounds inviting.
Huh. He describes a pretty primitive hotel, but also visits to a children's hospital and a really vibrant Word of Life church with about 400 energetic young people.
But the trip wasn't without drama, I gather.
Never a dull moment. There was this episode where half the ministry group suddenly found themselves without plane tickets to leave Magadan. Stranded.
Oh no, what happened?
Get this. A local KGB detective heard about their plight. And instead of causing trouble, he actually intervened and helped them get the ticket sorted out.
A KGB detective helped them.
Yes. And apparently, he gladly accepted some Christian literature in return. Just an astonishing example of God working in the most unexpected ways, through the most unexpected people.
That's unbelievable. Any other stories from that region?
One more really symbolic one from Irkutsk, also in Siberia. There was a former pastor who had served 5 years in a particular prison building.
Okay.
After the collapse of the Soviet Union, that prison building was torn down, and the bricks from the prison were then used to build a larger church for his growing congregation.
Wow. Bricks from the prison built the church.
Exactly. Talk about turning challenges into opportunities, transforming a place of oppression into a center of worship. It's a beautiful picture of redemption.
Incredible. Okay, last stop in this section, Iran.
Yes, Iran. Paul emphasizes connecting modern Iran with its ancient biblical roots, ancient Elam, the Medo-Persian Empire. Figures like Daniel, Esther, Mordecai lived and worked there.
Right, historical context is important.
He even visited sites believed to be the tombs of Daniel, Esther, and Mordecai, and saw King Darius's famous inscription carved into a mountainside near Persepolis. It really connects the present faith to that deep history.
And the situation for Christians in modern Iran?
It's complex and often dangerous. Martyrdom is a concept revered in Iran's wider Islamic culture, often symbolized by the tulips. Within the Christian community, there have been at least 8 known martyrs since the 1979 revolution.
That's a heavy reality.
It is. Paul recounts some incredibly moving encounters with widows of these martyrs. They expressed both tears for their loss, but also profound joy and gratitude for the prayers of Christians around the world. Just this incredible mix of sorrow and resilient faith.
How does the church operate?
Officially, Farsi language churches are closed down. However, some historical Armenian and Assyrian churches are allowed to operate, but under strict rules, absolutely no proselytizing Iranians. So much as the vibrant faith happens underground.
In secret house churches.
Yes, believers meet secretly, joyfully, resiliently. Despite the risks of property confiscation, interrogation, imprisonment, their courage is truly inspiring.
Did Paul have any direct encounters?
One particularly powerful moment he shares. They visited a pastor in his church sanctuary, one of the allowed non-proselytizing churches. The pastor was initially quite unsettled, maybe even suspicious of these foreign visitors.
Understandable, given the risks.
But then Paul and his group simply started singing the hymn, "How Great Thou Art." And the pastor just broke down, weeping with joy. It was this unexpected moment of shared worship, of connection, that transcended the fear and suspicion.
Wow, music breaking through.
It seems so. It's another example of God opening doors and revealing. His work in places often perceived as completely closed off, showcasing that incredible resilience and unwavering faith happening beneath the surface.
Okay, let's move into the final part of this deep dive, looking at more contemporary challenges and the global impact Paul witnessed.
Egypt. Paul shares a nice icebreaker moment there. His Egyptian guide looked at him and said, "You have an Egyptian face." Made him feel very welcome. He notes the general hospitality of the people.
That's lovely. What about the Christian community there, the Copts?
The Coptic Orthodox Christians have an incredible history of resilience. Paul points out they survived centuries of Islamic expansion, partly because they had the Bible translated into their own Coptic language very early on. That anchored their identity and faith.
The power of Scripture in your own language again.
Exactly. But they still face challenges today. Things like being passed over for promotions, subtle discrimination. Yet their faith endures. He mentions the Qasr el-Dobara Church in Cairo, the largest Protestant church in the Middle East. It stands as a visible symbol, but also represents the cross to bear for Christians in the region.
And the Cave Church. That sounds intriguing.
Oh, the Cave Church of Saint Simon is truly inspiring. It's located in Mokattam, in an area known as Garbage City, because its residents, mostly Coptic Christians, are the traditional garbage collectors of Cairo.
So a church for the poorest of the poor.
Precisely. Started small, literally in caves in the cliffside, and it grew and grew until it could seat 6,000 people. It's this incredible testament to faith flourishing in the most unexpected and challenging environment.
Amazing. And there was influential ministry happening too.
Yes, Paul mentions Magdi Saber, who actually published Paul's book in Arabic. Magdi also directed youth with a mission, in Egypt, training hundreds of young Egyptians for ministry.
Wham, that's a global movement.
It is. And tragically, some of those young people Magdi trained later became martyrs while serving in neighboring Sudan. It speaks to their incredible dedication and the very real cost of discipleship in that region.
A sobering reminder. Any other takeaways from Egypt?
One really powerful anecdote about love in action. Children from a poor village invading their own community, going door to door, collecting bits of bread, and then redistributing it to make sure every single family had enough to eat for the day.
Children doing this.
Yes. For Paul, it was this profound lesson. Poverty doesn't preclude loving and helping others. In fact, sometimes it's the catalyst for the most beautiful acts of compassion and community.
That's a powerful image. Now, shifting continents, Mexico, specifically Chiapas.
Yes, Chiapas State in southern Mexico. And here, the issue is severe persecution, but of a different kind. It's directed at evangelical Protestants, often indigenous people who convert from traditional syncretistic Catholic beliefs.
Persecution from within the community?
Exactly. Conversion often leads to intense social ostracism, threats, violence, expulsion from their ancestral villages, and even having their homes burned down. It's brutal.
Yet there's resistance and courage.
Absolutely. Paul tells the story of Esdras, a local church leader who was also a lawyer. He was actively intervening to try and protect Christians from being expelled from their community.
That sounds dangerous.
It was. On one occasion, attackers came to his home at night intending violence, but they suddenly fled. Later, they said they saw guards with bright lights surrounding the house. Esdras and his family knew there were no guards. They believed it was miraculous divine protection.
Wow. Angels, maybe?
Who knows? But a powerful story of protection. And the unwavering commitment of believers there is just profound. Take Sister Pascual. Her home was burned down by attackers. She herself was shot an incredible 21 times.
21 times, and she survived.
She survived. And Paul says she continues to be a strong Christian leader in her community, still singing hymns like, "I have decided to follow Jesus." Just astonishing resilience in the face of unimaginable trauma.
That's almost unbelievable strength.
And there's the tragic, harrowing story of 14-year-old Octavia Lopez. During one of these violent expulsions, her parents were murdered right in front of her, and she herself was brutally attacked. It highlights the depth of suffering, but also the incredible solidarity among the evangelicals who support each other through these ordeals.
It really puts our own challenges into perspective.
It certainly does. Paul emphasizes that for these believers, persecution, as terrible as it is, often becomes an opportunity to deepen their faith and strengthen their bonds as a community. It echoes the Apostle Paul's writings about suffering for Christ, finding strength in weakness.
A heavy but important reality. Let's move to Sudan.
Sudan, a nation with a long, rich history, ancient Nubian kingdoms, connections to biblical Kush, and also a long history of Christian missions, like the Sudan Interior Mission, SIM.
But also a history of conflict.
Yes, tragically. Decades of civil war between the predominantly Muslim North and the largely Christian and animist South. This eventually led to the independence of South Sudan in 2011.
Did that solve the problems for Christians?
It created new ones, especially for those Christians who remained in the north. In Sudan proper, the government pressure on them actually increased after the split.
How did that manifest?
Paul details a shocking attack in 2012 on a Christian compound in Khartoum, the capital. A Bible school and a church were deliberately burned down by Muslim extremists.
Was there any response from authorities?
Heartbreakingly, Paul reports there was police inaction. They were present but didn't intervene to stop the destruction.
That's awful. How did the church respond?
Well, Paul was involved in holding another SSTS seminar there shortly after this attack. It was incredibly hot, 42 degrees Celsius, that's like 108 Fahrenheit. But 131 church leaders came, representing 13 different denominations, all focused on standing firm in their faith together.
Unity in adversity.
That was the key message. And interestingly, Paul notes that the more recent civil war that broke out in Sudan in 2023, as horrific as it is actually causing some people to question Islam and become more open to seeking Christ. Local church leaders are courageously providing trauma healing and offering hope amidst the chaos.
So even in current conflict, there's a spiritual dynamic.
It seems so. The takeaway Paul stresses is the vital importance of unity in the body of Christ, especially in places like Sudan. Embracing differences between denominations and working together for the kingdom is absolutely crucial for survival and witness.
Unity is strength. And the final stop before Palestine, the Netherlands.
The Netherlands, yes. Home base for Open Doors, and its founder, Brother Andrew. Paul includes some lighter moments here, sharing humorous anecdotes from his early travels in Europe.
Like what?
Language mishaps, misunderstandings in Switzerland, and in the Netherlands, trying to politely refer to a Dutch pastor whose name started with H. Paul kept saying Pastor H, but in Dutch that apparently sounds like Pastor Ha, which just caused confusion and amusement. Those cross-cultural moments.
Always humbling. He also shares about a lovely family visit the Estabrooks made to Holland. Their kids were delighted, especially visiting Brother Andrew at his home. They saw his garden, his pet turtles, and even his famous bicycle built for two.
A more personal glimpse of Brother Andrew? Yes. Paul reflects on Brother Andrew's profound influence, not just as the visionary founder, but also his personal warmth, his deep commitment to his own family, and his practical wisdom. He quotes Andrew saying, "Be radical for Jesus, but not fanatical." Finding that balance.
The important distinction.
And his humble leadership style. Paul tells a story about Brother Andrew speaking at a big youth event, but beforehand he was just quietly helping stack chairs, and someone actually mistook him for the gardener. He didn't correct them. That quiet humility, Paul says, was key to his impact. It speaks volumes about the power of a life lived with that kind of humble yet radical devotion to Christ, inspiring countless others.
A fitting tribute. And now the last destination covered in the book, Palestine.
Palestine. And Paul starts this section with a really impactful challenge he heard there. Leave here with a new love for Jews and Palestinians and a commitment to pray for both.
That sets a crucial tone, doesn't it? Empathy for all sides in a complex situation.
Absolutely crucial. He acknowledges the intertwined, often deeply conflicting histories and narratives of Jewish Israelis and Palestinians in the region. He mentions the controversies like the separation barrier, but the goal isn't political analysis, it's understanding the people.
And highlighting Christian resilience amidst it all.
Yes. He points to the significant work of Bethlehem Bible College, training Palestinian Christian leaders, and its humanitarian arm, the Shepherd Society, which serves the poor and needy in practical ways, showing Christ's love. And Brother Andrew, fittingly, had a permanent room reserved for him at the college guest house, playfully named Smuggler's Inn,
Huh. Perfect. Does Paul offer perspectives that challenge common assumptions?
He does. He shares a story about a friend, Jim Cunningham, who took his Israeli university advisor on a visit to Bethlehem. This advisor, an Israeli Jew, had lived nearby for years, but had never been behind the wall into Bethlehem before. The visit was eye-opening for him.
Breaking down barriers, literally and figuratively.
And another story of a Canadian friend who lived in Bethlehem for 2 years and never felt unsafe, offering a different on-the-ground perspective than what you often hear in the news.
It's important to hear those diverse experiences. What about examples of peace building?
The most powerful example he highlights is the Tent of Nations. It's a Palestinian Christian family farm near Bethlehem, owned by the Nassar family for generations. They are under immense pressure, facing legal battles and harassment trying to take their land.
That sounds incredibly difficult.
It is. But carved onto a stone at the entrance to their farm are the words, "We refuse to be enemies." That's their motto. It's this incredible, unwavering commitment to nonviolent resistance, to love and to peace, despite everything they endure.
We refuse to be enemies. That's profound.
It truly is. Paul suggests that real hope lies in grassroots efforts like this, in reconciliation work, in supporting local groups focused on women and children, fostering change from the ground up amidst the deep-seated conflict.
So the final takeaway from Palestine.
It comes back to a posture of faith. The importance of being still before the Lord, waiting patiently for his justice, which might look different from our expectations. And crucially, choosing actively to respond with love, even towards those who seem unjust or are causing suffering. A very hard but very central Christian calling.
So as we wrap up this incredible journey, this whirlwind around the world in 40 days, what does it all mean for you, the listener?
Well, that title, 40 Days, isn't just literal. It echoes that recurring symbolism of the number 40 we see throughout the Bible, doesn't it?
Right. 40 days and nights of rain, 40 years in the wilderness, Jesus' 40 days of temptation. It often signifies this period of testing, of purification, leading to transformation.
Exactly. And Paul Estabrook's journey, spanning decades but encapsulated here, reflects that transformative process, both for him and for the people he encountered. It really leads us to reflect on our own journeys and our ultimate destination.
The ultimate destination. Heaven.
Heaven, yes, but maybe not in the way we often picture it, clouds, harps, disembodied spirits. Paul quotes the author Randy Alcorn, who gives this compelling description. Heaven is a resurrected life, in a resurrected body, living with the resurrected Jesus on a resurrected earth for eternity.
A resurrected earth. That's a powerful image. Physical, tangible, redeemed.
It is, and the Bible itself gives us glimpses. Think of Revelation 21 describing the New Jerusalem.
Yeah, that amazing city. A perfect cube, wasn't it? Huge.
Huge. 1,400 miles in every dimension, length, width, and height. With walls of jasper, the city itself pure gold, like transparent glass. It's not just some vague, ethereal concept. It's painted as this vibrant, restored, glorious reality, a tangible hope.
So bringing it all together, this deep dive into Paul Estabrook's experiences, what's the core message?
I think it powerfully reinforces that the essence of the gospel, the good news, it extends far beyond just securing our personal ticket to heaven. It's an invocation now into this transformative relationship with Christ.
A relationship that changes how we live here.
Precisely. It compels us, or should compel us, to live out our faith actively. Through tangible acts of love, through selfless service, through courageous witness, especially for those who are suffering or oppressed. It calls us to become agents of change and reconciliation in a world that so desperately needs it.
That's the enduring message, isn't it? From the Philippines to Palestine, from the jungles of Borneo to the streets of Cuba, the call is the same.
It is to truly embrace this transformative gospel, not just believe it intellectually, but live out its implications in our own neighborhoods, our own workplaces, our own lives.
And to hold on to that enduring hope, that promise of one day meeting perhaps with Paul Estabrook, with Brother Andrew, with Sister Pasquale, with countless others in that New Jerusalem, what a thought to leave you with.